NARA loves to talk about how 8 in 10 Americans support the right to abortion. What they mean by that is that there are only maybe 2 out of 10 Americans who say abortion should be illegal all the time. But you could just as well point out that 8 out of 10 Americans do not support abortion at any stage for any reason, which is essentially NARAL's position. The reality is that Americans want to be moderate on abortion. They broadly support it in the first trimester, they definitely support it for medical emergencies, but outside of those circumstances, they get a lot less certain. This means that, so far, most Americans don't agree with my position. I think elective abortion should be illegal. But it also means that most Americans don't agree with the positions of groups like ACOG. They have not found an abortion restriction that they support. Last year, there were multiple state referendums on abortion, and Americans voted in the pro-choice direction on every single one of them. I've had people on both sides of this debate, pro-choice and pro-life, point to those results as evidence that the American public is becoming more pro-choice, maybe as a reaction to Dobbs, and that has hurt the pro-life cause. I don't think that's true for a couple of reasons. The first reason is polling. We saw an uptick in pro-choice sentiment and support of legal abortion after Dobbs, even after the Dobbs draft was leaked. That's true. But it's only been a year and we're already seeing some of those numbers revert. Since the early 1990s, Gallup has polled Americans on whether they think abortion should be legal under all circumstances, under most circumstances, in only a few circumstances, or illegal all the time. Gallup has asked this question 45 times, and in 44 cases, more Americans said it should be either legal only in a few circumstances or illegal all the time, compared to Americans that said it should be legal most or all of the time. So in 44 out of 45 instances since the early 1990s, more Americans have picked restrictive options than permissive options for abortion law. The one instance out of 45 was last year, and they polled right after the Dobbs draft leaked. They've asked the question again this year, and again, more people picked the restrictive than the permissive options. The second reason I don't think the referendums speak to some great swell in pro-choice sentiment is because people are voting for them based on whatever information they have, which isn't necessarily complete information. Imagine you have a bell curve of information about abortion, and in the two tails are the extreme stories that represent the hard edges of the pro-life case versus the pro-choice case. So on the pro-life side, you have stories of children who get pregnant through rape. You have stories of women struggling with miscarriage management or being afraid they can't get treatment for ectopic pregnancy. Americans want moderation. They hate these stories. They think if they vote for these referendums, they're basically voting for common sense abortion reform. But they don't hear any of the stories from the pro-choice tail of the bell curve. They don't hear stories about aborting viable, healthy fetuses. They don't hear stories about the astronomical rate of aborting children if they have Down syndrome. They don't hear stories about people putting abortion pills in their partner or their teenage daughter's drink. Those of us advocating against abortion need to get more of the American public to see our vision, to have laws that recognize us as valuable human beings as soon as we exist. But we likewise need the public to be aware of the repercussions of abortion on demand and without apology. It's not a neutral position. It's not without its horrific consequences.